right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mental Health Mondays. I am AA Ron, sometimes called Mind Runner, and my guest at this time from Cleveland, Ohio. Maybe he took the steam train. I don't know. But he is a world-renowned voice actor, comedian, writer, producer. He won a Webby Award for his performance as George Lucas on this incredible deep fake round table. He is also, some of you may know him as the voice of a certain robot skeleton from the Late Late Show TV's Craig Ferguson. I am talking about Josh Robert Thompson. He is also the creator of the Josh Robert Thompson Show. How convenient. It was so good, it only needed one episode. After that, you had to break the mold. It was so perfect. Josh, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, buddy. A Ron. That's your name.
Yes.
Now, what is that? What is that name? That's an interesting name.
Well, it's actually Aaron, but the old Key and Peele skit where they had the substitute teachers calling out the names.
Oh yeah.
Going, Where's AA Ron? Where's AA Ron? Ever since then, I've been kind of rolling with that.
Yeah, because I said Aaron, before we started the show, I addressed you as Aaron. So then you said AA Ron, and I thought, oh my God, I screwed up the guy's name. So anyway, thanks for having me on. And by the way, what a background you have there. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, this is a work of art behind me. I wanted to go with my finest piece of art behind me, And if those of you that don't know this reference, the Josh Robert Thompson Show, check it out. It's on YouTube, and it's flawless from start to finish. Make sure you pay particular attention to the ogre section. That's
right. Gary the Ogre. Well, I'm glad you liked it. I appreciate that. I had a lot of fun making it, and a lot of very talented people involved in doing that. And very proud of it. I call it a comedy special, because it's kind of a one-off, and I think it's great. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And is there any chance that we might be getting some more comedy specials in the similar vein at some point?
Probably some of the other characters. I know definitely the Reverend Apostle BG.
Yes.
He's been laying low for a little while. And I think he probably did some prison time, and now he's out. And
trying not to get canceled.
Yeah. So he'll be back with some show, and you'll see Gary the Ogre pop up in some things. So I've got some plans for all those characters. Definitely.
Very cool. Very cool. For the few people on the planet that are unprivileged to not know much about you, Google Josh Robert Thompson, for crying out loud.
Yeah, Google it.
Google it. Just Google it. But and I did want to talk a little bit about, because you've got such an incredible voice talent, but you also have such incredible comedic timing too. And not just with the Craig Ferguson Show, but like a lot of your skits, like when you were trolling as George Lucas at the Star Wars, that Greedo shot first and Jar Jar's, that was tremendous.
Wow.
How was that? I mean, were some people legit upset with you, or was it?
Sure. Yeah. I think more, not so much at Star Wars Celebration. The people at Star Wars Celebration are very, very nice. And, they're just a lovely group of people, very supportive. So I felt like a rock star there. But it was not the same with Comic-Con. Comic-Con people, whole different breed. I remember that one. I was dressed as George, and it was like a 3-hour makeup job, because I had a couple of friends that were makeup effects people that made George's face, and also made the wig and the beard by hand. And so that was, so I show up there after all that, and I was trying to get into Hall H. For those of you who don't know, Hall H at Comic-Con is like used to be the coveted place to be for all the big movie premieres and panels and all that stuff. Well, that year was The Force Awakens.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to get a wristband to get into Hall H. So imagine me as George Lucas standing over by, they have all these tents set up where people have been waiting for days on end outside in a line to get into Hall H. And there I am as George Lucas, and I'm standing there going, anybody want to give me a pass, wristband? creator of Star Wars, George Lucas? And people wouldn't even look at me. I wanted to, it's a good visual. I have the video somewhere, but I wanted to go in there and ask J.J. Abrams if I could get my movies back. That's what I was going to do. I was going to go up there, but
Yeah, because that was like right after, like he had just kind of was panning the new movie. He was kind of writing it off, and that's
yeah,
I can imagine. Like,
yeah,
can I have my movies back, please?
yeah. It was kind of a weird time, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, somehow, some way at Star Wars Celebration, we got in through a back entrance. I sat in the back of my friend's car, and he drove on to the back entrance of I think it was the Anaheim Convention Center in Anaheim, California, and they just assumed it was George Lucas sitting in the back of the car. And so whoever the security guy was, God bless you, sir. He's like, wow, George Lucas, go right ahead. So we just kind of walked in and started shooting. So it was pretty great.
That's tremendous. And now today, with today's technology too, with all the deep fake wasn't long ago, but now the deep fake is incredible. But it's tough. AI can capture a lot, but the mannerisms and the cadence, it always kind of, there's that what do they call it, the uncanny valley. There's always that uncanny valley where you can't, but you've got those, you seem to pick up the ticks, like George's kind of how he kind of does his head tilt.
Well, he kind of moves his head a little. Well, the thing is, I love George Lucas. I mean, I think George is I have a lot of, you can't see it at the moment, but there's a lot of Jar Jar. I have every Jar Jar action figure. It started out as like a silly thing years ago, and then I don't know. Rolling Stone, back when the Phantom Menace came out, they had a pull-out poster of Jar Jar reading the original Rolling Stone from 1977. So I have that framed, and I just love that George did things his way, and he's a legendary filmmaker in that obviously he changed the face of films, the way that we make movies, certainly in the effects world, and editing and Pixar, so the list goes on and on. But so everything I do comes from a place of great admiration for him. So I've listened to every commentary for all the Star Wars movies over and over and over again. And I just sort of, became George Lucas. I will tell you an interesting thing that happened is, you mentioned the deep fake stuff. Now, we did a deep fake series for Collider. And the joke at that time was those were the videos that ended Collider. That's not true. That's not why Collider ended. No, but we Collider's still around. It's just that at the time there were all these shows happening, and they wanted to do this deep fake thing, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Well, George Lucas's son, Jet Lucas, apparently showed him some of the videos, and George loves them. He thought they were really funny. So we got a thumbs up from the man himself. Which that's
fantastic. Yeah, it's tough too, because sometimes some people might take an impression as an insult or mocking.
Sure.
But like Morgan Freeman seemed to give you the thumbs up when he was on stage and you did the Morgan voice for him. And I thought that was pretty cool. And have you ever had any negative celebrity feedback where they're like, wait a minute, like did Arnold ever?
Oh, no, never. No, because I think there's a few things that I did as George Lucas that I probably wouldn't do now. But some of the stuff with his neck, that is what George looks like, right? So I wasn't like trying to. But I think there's a video, and it's funny, but there was a video that we did at Star Wars Celebration where people just wanted to touch the neck. They wanted to touch the neck because it's a fake neck. And so it was just funny to them. I never really thought we were making fun of George's neck. So it's in the video, but it's only because people thought it was like a cool prosthetic makeup effect, right? But yeah, later on, he revealed that he's diabetic and he struggled with it for many years. So I'm like, but again, I'm just trying to do an impression that looks exactly like that person, so the fact that he liked it, speaks volumes. He obviously didn't take it that way, but I don't think any of the impressions I do are mean spirited at all.
I don't think so.
So,
I don't
you
think
know,
so either. I think in a lot of cases it's not. It's an homage to that person, or it's like you're showing that you're it's a not only say caricature, but kind of like an enhanced take on them. But a lot
right.
of times there's sometimes some fans, and you know how social media can be. Sometimes
Oh
fans
yeah,
take it a little bit
I
different.
sure do.
Yeah, so it's good that you don't get a whole lot of pushback from the people that you uh, use the impressions of, but
Yeah.
sometimes fans can get a little bit on the crazy side.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean,
yeah,
yeah, that's definitely something I've I've dealt with over the years. I mean, mostly it's just when you put your stuff out there, which is, by the way, it's people don't talk enough about what a brave act of courage it is to put your art out into the world. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. And even if it doesn't go viral, and even if it doesn't get a million views, just the fact that you put it out there
yeah,
is something that I think more people should be commended for and be proud of themselves for. And, along with that, you get a lot of armchair critics that have a
yeah,
lot to say. That's probably why I like a guy like George Lucas, because George doesn't really care about those things. So
yeah. Burrito shop first. What are you gonna do?
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So you kind of have to. I mean, it took me a while to figure out how to put the blinders on and just not really think about it. I don't know who said it, but those are the people that are in the cheap seats. They're not really.
Yeah, the peanut gallery.
Yeah, they're not contributing anything. They're not making anything either. So, I've always thought about that. Like, when I was doing the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, everything we did was in the moment. Everything we did was unscripted, largely, other than,
Yeah.
some of the sketches that we did. But, you know, there may have been a better choice for a joke some nights. And the thing with social media is, sure, someone can go back and look at those old clips almost a decade later and take a couple of days to think of maybe a better one-liner,
Yeah.
But so that's you kind of go, sure, but in the moment, it was a very magical thing. So,
Yeah.
and you can't worry about that stuff.
You can't. I mean, the classic one that I think stood out to me was the Careful Icarus when
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. But
So
you
that's a
guys
funny one.
kind
Careful
of Tai
Icarus.
Chi'd that one. You kind of took it and kind of turned it into its own inside joke.
Yeah, I think I had to. Yeah, it was well, Careful Icarus, the backstory on that for people that may not be familiar is look, I really wanted people to know that it was me behind that wall
Yeah.
playing Geoff Peterson. These days, it's whatever. If the check's clear, it's fine. I don't, it's not a big deal. But, listen, I
Yeah.
think for most performers, you'd like for people to know that you were the one that was behind that
Yeah.
character that they love so much. And so I remember that the show producers gave me access to Geoff Peterson's official Twitter account. And so I think once or twice, maybe two times, if that, I tweeted that, by the way, be sure and follow my puppet master, Josh Robert Thompson. And somebody tweeted, careful, Icarus. The idea being that I was getting too big for my, britches. And I
Too
was like,
close to
well,
the sun.
well,
Yeah.
no, because, and I've told the story before, but the show, there was a lot of things that happened at the show where they were kind of keeping me behind the wall and
Yeah.
didn't really want people to know that it was me. Not Craig, but other people associated with the show. And so just thought, like, come on, man. I mean, everybody knew that Craig was the host because he was out there. Everyone knew that Grant Imahara built Geoff Peterson. Rest in peace, by the way, the great Grant Imahara, who built this gorgeous robot and showed me how to use it, and was also just a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
So I I just thought, come on, man, let me get a little piece of the action here. And so somebody said, "Careful, Icarus." I was a different guy back then. I got all bent out of shape about it. Well, the producers found out about that and thought, let's have a little fun at Josh's expense. So there's a segment where I think Craig is playing Sid the bunny rabbit, and he's talking to Geoff. It's one of the cold opens where the bunny rabbit,
with
with the blue eyes.
Oh, we had a little thing, did we?
Yeah. And so I just had to, and look, I had to just play along. But I will tell you that, when I was doing that sketch, and you can't tell at all, but I was very unhappy after we did that segment because I didn't know we were going to talk about that.
Oh, so I didn't. I thought you were in on it. I thought that was part of the discussion.
Oh no. So afterward, I was just like, wow. Not only did I feel like it's not a big deal now, but at the time it was like, well, not only did I feel dejected on Twitter by these people that were taking it the wrong way, but I also, or that the show didn't want my name out there, but I also felt like, oh, now they're making fun of me for it
at your expense.
So anytime someone would comment that for years, it would just make me feel, it would make me feel so sad.
Bring back those feelings. Oh,
yeah. But now I'm like, I autograph prints that say "Careful, Icarus," and I'm getting ready to. I have a merch store that's going to open very soon, and we're going to have the T-shirts again, and and people love it. And by the way, nobody knew this to begin with. They just thought it is a very funny segment. It's a very funny segment, and it became a running gag. So careful, Icarus. Careful, Icarus.
I had this whole idea that I imagined that you and Craig were backstage. And you were like, look at this clown. Look what he said. And you showing him. And then the two of you had to laugh about it.
No.
Goodness.
No, in fact, I did Craig's show recently. He's got a new podcast
the
called
Joy Podcast. Yeah.
And, he and I are the same. I mean, we don't really hang out. I mean, he lives in Scotland most of the time. And we don't really hang out with much of anybody, honestly. We kind of keep to ourselves. And it's not like there's any animosity. It's just, it's one of those things where, and I don't think this would happen, but you don't want to spoil in a way like this perfect working relationship, this perfect chemistry. I heard Gene Wilder say that once about working with Richard Pryor. Someone had asked them, do you guys hang out? He said, we don't. It's when we get together, this magical thing happens that I can't explain, and I only have that with very few people. And Craig is definitely one of them. And, when I did his show recently, he admitted to me that, the producers would find out if someone was having a shitty day, like if one of the writers was going through a divorce or I was going through a series of bad breakups and they'd say, oh, I bet Josh is going to be on fire tonight, and he was right,
Yeah.
I think that was, and that's just the way. I'm not offended by that. I'm not going to write an article about it and try to take down the show. That's just how it was. That's just like the landscape of that kind of show, and it is true. I work better traditionally when I'm in the middle of some kind of pain or strife, but I think it's about finding a way to not have to always be in that mode.
Yeah.
That's kind of the key.
It's a lot. It's interesting too, because I look throughout history, a lot of the great artists, Van Gogh cut off his ear. There's always like some tortured story that goes with it. And
that's right.
You hear about a lot of like musical artists that just get totally lost to drugs and alcohol and a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's just, I can see being like you said, you're putting yourself out there. It's you. And like, for example, like I'll spend a whole day working on a video that I think is just perfect. It's hilarious. I'm cracking up the whole time. I put it up on TikTok and Instagram. Nothing. What gets the views? Some girl going yum yum ice cream for about
right. Well, that's interesting. I know what you're talking about, and I went through that with mine was Chewbacca Mom, and the Cash Me Outside girl who became like a multimillionaire rapper, right? And I remember, because I used to do these live streams. I used to go live on, it's not around anymore, but Periscope. And I enjoyed it because it was like free form improv, but it was also like a real look into my world, and sometimes a little too real. But I used to get really angry, and I used to do these rants. People loved my rants. I used to go on and on about, you know, Chewbacca mom and all that stuff. And I realized that, you know, the thing that helped me is realizing that it's not about me, like other people's success.
Yeah.
Even if, you know, because I get it. You look at stuff like that and you go, well, why is that a thing? How could they have that? But all of a sudden, it wasn't all of a sudden. It took many years to get to this, but probably a couple of years ago, something clicked in my mind, and I realized, oh, it's not about me. Not in a negative way, where people say it's not about you. No, it's just not about me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Whatever, even peers. I used to have to mute so many people on Instagram, because when you're in a negative state of mind, when you're feeling low and you have low self-worth, of course, anything you see that, you know, is someone else's success, it's going to make you feel bad, even though it doesn't have anything to do really with their success. It has to do with you. But I'm saying what their success doesn't have to do with me is what I'm saying. What they're, you know, like, it's not about me at all. I'm happy for them, but also I don't really want to see it all the time. I think social media is weird, where we are, at least I feel, bombarded by what everybody's up to and what everybody's working on. I kind of like the old days when you just bump into somebody, or you work with them on something, and then that's when you find out what they've been up to, instead of like
oh, hey,
seeing it all the time.
Yeah. Do you find it like hard though, like when you put something out there and you might get 1,000 great, oh, this is so funny, this is great, you get that one troll comment and you're just sitting there like, why did that guy, that one troll comment just gets to you?
Oh, you'll sit with it. Oh yeah, man, I understand. I would hang on to some of those comments. I was on vacation a few years back. I like to vacation out in the Joshua Tree out in the desert, and you know, here I was. I'd rented this house. I had this beautiful pool. I was with my girlfriend, just enjoying a peaceful time out of the desert, and I made the mistake of checking some video, and I read one comment. I don't even remember what the comment was, but it just threw this entire day in complete disarray. It was like this black cloud, and I just couldn't shake it. Whatever it was some ridiculous comment. I look back now and I laugh about it, because I think, wow, I don't even know that person. And you know, a lot of times people leave a comment. They basically do this. They have their phone, they leave the comment, and then they like go, all right, anyway, I'm gonna go have lunch and get on with my day.
They don't even think about it like that. That's the thing too, is they're not sitting there going, oh, I really got him. Like, they're not sitting there all day like proud of themselves. They've already moved on to the next troll. It's true. And you know, by the way, there's nothing wrong with, you know, reacting this way or feeling this way about these things is perfectly normal. I mean, if you don't feel that way, you know, that might be a problem. You might need to, like, you know, if you're not hurt at some point by terrible things that people have written, then I don't know. That it makes sense that you would be, you know. You might be a psychopath if you're not. You might be, but you might be a robot skeleton. Yeah. But you know, balls. But we don't know those people. We don't know them. Yeah. I think if it was a friend that said it, or somebody I knew in real life, then it would probably be different. But it's like, I don't know who these people are. And for me, yeah, man, I mean, I after the Late Late Show ended, I mean, I couldn't get work. You know, I was trying to, it was crazy. It was like, I had this expectation that, you know, Hollywood was going to present me with the keys to the city and, you know, welcome aboard, son. Yes. Guy with a cigar. And we saw your work on the Late Late Show. But yeah, the truth is, and I tell this story, and this is a great show to tell this story, because, you know, we're in the middle of this strike right now. And I think there's a lot of confusion about what is the value or worth of a writer or an actor. And, you know, we're not
talking about multimillionaires, I mean, the truth is, and I'm just saying this to illustrate a point, have never made $1 million. I've never been a millionaire. I've never even come close. Which to me, if I really spent a lot of time thinking about it, it's kind of crazy, but it's not a prerequisite for being successful in this business. But my point is, when the show ended, given everything that I did on that show and how long the show ran for and how well loved that show was, and the dynamic of Craig and Geoff, many people just assumed, well, it's going to be great. Next thing's going to be amazing. And there was no next thing.
Yeah.
For a couple of years. And when I tried to sell, it was actually 2 TV pilots that I made. And nobody wanted them because nobody knew who I was. And
with the face,
so that was
voice,
yeah, man, that was like, what do I do now? Because my whole self-worth was based on this show, or people, knowing this thing, but not knowing that it was me. And so I was so focused on, I got to sell my TV pilot. I got to sell this comedy special. And if I don't do that, then I'm a failure. When what I realized was, it may not be today, it may not be a week from now, it may not be 5 years from now, but something's going to happen. It just isn't going to be the thing that you intended. It may not, things don't go in a straight path. Everything kind of goes like that. So eventually someone did see my comedy special, and that was somebody at Saturday Night Live. And so I auditioned for Saturday Night Live right when the pandemic started, by the way.
Perfect
There's
timing.
the joke, right?
Yeah.
But I auditioned for SNL, and I didn't ultimately get it, but it doesn't matter because I'm in their circle now. They're aware of me. And then I had a meeting with the guys at South Park because they'd seen the deep fake stuff, and they'd seen my pilot. And so look, I didn't sell the show, and it took a little while, right? But 5 years later, something did happen. And I look back at that. I mean, just to hear from someone like yourself, you have the background of the opening title of my show. And, man, there's so many people that find that pilot, and the comments on that. I don't think I've ever had any video that's had just nothing but positive comments. It's just beautiful.
I went back recently just to prepare for chatting with you, and I just scrolled through the comments, and it's just, it's all positive. It's it's a testament to you too. I guess it's a struggle when you were behind the scenes so much that you're behind the stage on Craig Ferguson. So nobody really got a chance to say, oh, that's the guy from Craig Ferguson.
Yeah.
Whereas like Dave Chappelle, he does Rick James, and then everybody's shouting at him, hey, do Rick James, bitch.
So there's that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I know Steve Martin went through this too, when he would do his King Tut, his King Tut routine. And at some point he just gotten tired of it. And, I think it's in his book, Born Standing Up, I think is the book. He just talks about walking away from it all. And, I kind of went through that with Geoff Peterson a little bit, where it was a double-edged sword of, I want you to know that I did this thing, but also I want you to know that I can do these other things too.
Yes.
And, the key to that is to just do it. It sounds so much easier than it is, but just to do what you love. I mean, you really have to just do the thing that you enjoy. And that's really it. You can't worry about, because, listen, I love horror movies. I love, electronic music. I like all kinds of weird things. And I post about these things a lot on my Instagram. And I know that it baffles so many of the diehard Geoff Peterson fans, but it's not an FU to those people. It's just like, hey, we can have both, but this is
Yeah.
who I am, you know, and I got to go do this thing. But I think now I realize the importance of that show, like what it meant to so many people. You know, I mean, we did an autograph signing. You know, this company Streamily had to convince me to do this autograph signing because I was like, this is a terrible idea. I'm gonna sell like 2 of these prints. It's gonna, it's gonna be very embarrassing. And I said, okay, I'll do it if I could do it from my studio at home. And I mean, it just blew me away. I mean, the outpouring of love and the stories that people share about how old they were. Like some people were in grade school when they watched the Late Late Show, or they used to watch it with a parent who's now passed away, or grandparents, or, so many memories surrounding that show. And I think that people now are a little more understanding of what I went through because, they didn't have the same perspective that I have being on the show.
Yeah.
And now I understand a little more what the show meant to them. So it's kind of like this beautiful thing that's been happening over the last couple of years.
But it's
It
almost
means a
like
lot to me.
it's almost like you had to kind of go through that period though of
Yeah.
separating, almost kind of like Leonard Nimoy not wanting to be Spock, or
Right.
somebody like that. And just to kind of share with you, I met my wife. We did radio. We did before podcasts were podcasts. We did all digital radio, and we did a reality check radio show where we broke down like reality shows. But we would like hang out through Skype, and we would
Yeah.
watch movies together through Skype, and we time it like 3, 2, 1 play, that. And we both would watch the Late Late Show clips, and we started
Wow.
like Geoff Peterson, all the jokes, even to this day, we'll say, 1 German, 2 still German, 3 Italian Bill
Yeah.
Clinton. We do
Yeah.
all the little inside jokes, and it's just you guys, you and Craig were lightning in a bottle, and a lot
Yeah,
of this,
man.
a lot
It's
of the
great.
stuff that you came up with off the fly were just like speaking like the Jay Leno fly.
That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah. All the celebrity flies and yeah, because that's great, man. That's great to hear. It's because you never know. I haven't heard that one before. People watching it over Skype, together, sharing it. We had a lot of people during the pandemic that found the show for the first time. People in other countries finding it on YouTube. Thanks to, there was a channel called the Jay Leno Fly. But then there were a number of other YouTube channels that started popping up, the Late Late Show archives, and that's how people have been finding all that stuff. And
they're like mad. They're like, why is this show not still
they
on?
always say that. Yeah. How did I miss this? And they say the same thing about the pilot as well, about the comedy special. They say,
where's
how
the next
come there's
episode?
one? Where's the rest of the season? Which is really nice. Really nice.
One of my favorite gotta be spontaneous moments was the actress, the Evangeline Lilly. She played Kate on Lost.
Oh
she was
yeah,
on the
yeah,
show,
sure.
and she turned to you and was flirting, and you went, "Hey, Freckles."
Hey, Freckles.
And
Yeah, I remember that.
I think a lot of people missed the reference on there, unless you were a fan of the show.
That's right.
The Sawyer reference. I died when I heard that. I was crying.
That's funny. I was doing Sawyer. Yeah, I was doing Josh Holloway, who played Sawyer. So I think that was around the time I was doing a voice for Final Fantasy 13. And it was just it was a cutscene character. It was this guy named Rigby. I don't, apparently in Japan, he was like this very handsome sidekick to the evil guy. I don't know anything about the game, but they wanted the voice to sound like Sawyer from Lost. That is what Square Enix, the company that, developed those games, they said, that's what we want. So I was probably doing it around that time. And I just was like, oh, she's on the show. Hey, Freckles. It was really funny, man. Her face just lit up.
Oh, that was such a cool moment.
Great.
Have you been getting a lot of like, because like voice actors right now, it seems to be like a huge opportunity to get a lot of those kind of gigs.
Well, one of the well, it's funny. We're about to we just authorized a strike for interactive games.
Oh.
So hopefully, that's going to be off the table now. I'm very grateful though, because in the world of voice acting, through the strike, there are still a lot of things that we can still do. So I've been able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of video. I did a lot of video game stuff early on and really enjoyed that. But mostly it's Family Guy. I've been doing Family Guy for it's got to be 13, almost 13 years now, which
Wow.
has been amazing. And audiobooks. And then there's a lot of weird stuff that people may not be as familiar with, like there'll be movie trailers, or when they're cutting a movie, they will need like a temp track or a scratch track just because the editor needs to have that. And so I've worked on a lot of films where I've done Morgan Freeman's voice for a lot of things, because he doesn't like to do post-production. He doesn't like to do all that. So just get Josh to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm tired and I'm old and I'm bored. So, so that's nice. So yeah, or voice matching. Sometimes they need to replace a little bit of dialogue. The line was mumbled or something, and so they'll ask if I can do something like that. There's a lot of very talented people out there that are really good at voices and voice matching. So I'm very grateful for it. I have a booth at home now, like everybody during the pandemic. Again, we all had to start working from home. And I think the first version was a PVC pipe frame with moving blankets, which made it about 1,000 degrees in there. And then I finally got this beautiful booth from a company called Whisper Room, and yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's a wonderful thing.
Shout out to Whisper Room, by the way. Shout out.
Yeah, they're a great company. Yeah, they and this thing is, this is the second to smallest booth that I have, but it weighs probably, I think, 12 or 1,300 pounds. So,
woo. Yeah,
I don't know.
Hefty. Have you ever had to do voiceovers for like the edited version or like the TV version where they change like motherfucker to mother father?
Oh, yeah.
Or
yeah, you know what? I did Tropic Thunder.
No way.
Years ago, and they called me in just to do I think it was Robert Downey, and then I ended up doing, who else is Nick Nolte in that movie?
Yeah, he plays Four Leaf.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I did Nick Nolte, and then I did Tom Cruise. I figured out later they didn't want to. They don't want to pay other people. They just want to pay one guy to be all the people. So,
you should get separate contracts for each voice, man.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty cool. I've had some weird ones. Like there was a show called Power on Stars Network, and they needed me to sound like, I think it was Charlie Murphy. He had passed away, and I auditioned for it. This is before, I was just like, all right, I guess I could sound like Charlie Murphy, and but I got the blessing of the family. Apparently, I mean, I didn't talk to them directly, so, and I all during the recording session, I was like, are you sure this is okay for me to be doing this? And they're like, it's fine, man, it's fine. So, so there's unusual situations like that too, where people pass away and they need someone to do the voice, so
that had, did that influence the Boglin in prison character on the Josh Robert Thompson? You're gonna be my bitch.
No, that's Darnell. That's well, actually, that guy's name, we changed his name. So Darnell Jenkins was the name of this little green alien, right? Who, as you said, is a Boglin, which was a puppet from the 80s. Really well made and really well sculpted puppet, and the eyes moved back and forth and they glowed in the dark. And It was like one of my favorite toys as a kid. And but it was based on this next door neighbor of mine named Rolo. Hey, Rolo. Yeah, what's up, man? It was this guy Rolo and some other guy I'd met at a bus stop, who had like, yellow jaundiced eyes and one tooth. And he was like, what's up, man? But I don't know. I grew up in Cleveland. I lived in a predominantly black neighborhood, and I went to a lot of inner city schools when I was a kid. And nobody really thought twice about it. We all kind of made fun of each other. And, but I love that voice. It's like musical to me. I love playing that character. Rolo is just, he's just a fun guy. He's just a guy you want to hang out with. You want to go fishing with him and just like learn about life. Yeah, man. What's up, man?
Let me tell you some things. Yeah.
But it's funny. The comedy specials out there, there were characters. I played a Latino raccoon named Snorky Lopez. I play this, black alien named Darnell Jenkins. I play this gay ogre named Gary. It's like all these things that you can't do that anymore. But I've never really gotten any complaints about any of those. So
yeah, because people tend to start to get a little touchy about a lot of stuff now.
Sure,
appropriation, the kind of the cancel culture, but it almost feels like there's kind of a push back now with comedy. It's like, are we going to sacrifice the laughs for that kind of thing? It's kind of
I get it. I get it. I mean, there have not been opportunities for a number of people out there, and I understand that. I think also with Darnell, I changed the name back to Rolo. I think it's a funnier name. It's not so on the nose. And also we've redesigned that character, obviously just for legal reasons, because it can't look like a Boglin because that's owned by. So now he's got a different look to him, and it's not as much of a, I don't know. It's not much of a caricature or a stereotype, I guess. There were some things that he did, but those were real people that I knew, and I wasn't trying to, be racist or anything. But I understand why people would be like, so that's why you haven't heard from some of those characters for a little while.
Were you growing up? Were you always doing kind of impressions? Were you kind of
sure?
And did your parents kind of support you with that, or were they like, get a real job?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, when you're growing up in Cleveland, get a real job. What are you doing? Go work, work at the mill.
Trying to play sports.
Yeah. I didn't. Well, I mean, we had the Indians and the Browns, so there wasn't much to root for there. In fact, my best buddy, Matt Lodi, he's no longer with us, but he's just a wonderful human being. He's living in Cleveland. He was living in Cleveland, and his favorite team were the Steelers. So, in fact, he was a big radio personality in Cleveland. He was a sports reporter for many, many years, and
you were doing that.
He was known as Steeler Matt.
Oh, that's so cool! I remember you were doing a drive for him on Twitter.
Yeah, we sold we did the Geoff Peterson merch to raise money, for medical costs, and it's funny, man. He wrote like a couple of books, self-published books about the Steelers. 100 facts every Steelers fan should know. 101. And I was like, man, you're really just doubling down on this. I thought that was beautiful because, who else are you going to root for? I mean, come on. But yeah, I didn't, and it's funny that we were friends. I mean, he was into wrestling, back when it was called the WWF. And we used to play those games on the Super Nintendo. And
what you gonna do, brother?
Yeah, man. We, he actually took me to one of those. It was really entertaining to see that live. And so we were like an odd couple in that I was not into sports at all. I was all about writing and doing plays and making movies. I started out making monster movies and horror movies, which is still my first love, is making films and writing. And my mom would be the camera person, and we make these funny movies. But yeah, I think, and then the voice stuff kind of, my mom was always very supportive because she would drive me to the Cleveland Playhouse, and I would do theater there when I was 9 years old. And I remember I had pneumonia during the production of that show, and I refused to miss a performance. So there were a couple of shows where 9-year-old me was in 102-degree fever, and I just I could not miss a performance that. But my mom would drive me there every day. So yeah,
That's
they were
cool.
very supportive of it. I think there's that concern that it's not going to work out. Again, the way that people think about the strike, it's like, well, that's not a real profession, get a real job, but I think they could see something in me that I couldn't see at that time when I was a kid. So.
All right, we're going to take a quick break from solving all of the world's problems to tell you about a good friend of mine and a service she's offering. Are you tired of feeling like your dream financial future is out of reach? Are you struggling with overwhelming debt, trying to pay off your home early, or simply wanting to give more? Well, my good friend Vanessa Rutter Jackson is here to help. An educator and military veteran, Vanessa is here to guide you through the confusion and make your dream financial future a reality. With her certified financial coaching services, she'll help you create a personalized plan that sets you up to win with money. As an educator and a mother of two, Vanessa understands the challenges of scraping by and stretching paychecks. She's been there, and she knows how to navigate the financial landscape to help you thrive. Don't let financial stress hold you back any longer. Take the first step towards financial freedom today with Rutter Jackson Financial Coaching. Reach out to Vanessa today for a free 45-minute consultation at varutter34@gmail.com or go to tinyurl.com/RJ-money-coach. That's varutter34@gmail.com or tinyurl.com/RJ-money-coach. Remember, it's never too late to take control of your finances and achieve your dreams. Start your journey to financial freedom with Rutter Jackson Financial Coaching today. All right, now let's get back to solving the world's problem with the most charming host on the interwebs. What do you think a lot of people get wrong about the strike? Because when you see like a Susan Sarandon and you see somebody like striking, what you don't see like the 1,000 other people that are like eating scraps and Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, I mean,
pursue their dream.
Exactly. I've got friends that are, several decades older than me, and they have been in this business for a long time, and they've been on a lot of great things, and they're tremendous performers, and they can't make rent. And I think the confusion is, when you see like Susan Sarandon or other big stars out there, people think that they're complaining about money, but it's not about multimillionaire actors wanting more money. It's about what's fair for everybody else. It's about what's fair for working actors like myself, like everyone that I know. And I think mostly it's about streaming. The whole streaming thing came along, and they really didn't have a great plan for how we were going to get residuals and how we were going to benefit from that. And also, to some degree, the artificial intelligence concern. I mean, look, I liked doing those deep fake videos, which implements artificial intelligence. Deep fake basically is a higher class version of a face swap filter, right? But it's artificial intelligence in the sense that the computer finds thousands, if not millions, of different photos and images of the person that you're going to do an impression of, let's say George Lucas, and it kind of like, I don't know how it works, but it kind of puts it together in this one thing. I actually prefer to use my own face. I enjoyed doing those videos, but we were talking about it earlier. You kind of mentioned which was very nice of you to say. And I think it's partly, it's true. It's like, it's not so much about the look, it's about the performance. It's about the mannerisms. It's about, fully inhabiting that person. I don't think you really need to have the face thing on there.
Well, like in some of your earlier work, like when you would play Arnold or you would play Robert De Niro, you get the look,
right?
Too. You get the squint and everything. Yeah, that's dead on, man.
Yeah.
But like Arnold, you really didn't look like Arnold. No. You sounded dead on.
Yeah.
Right. Larry King.
Yeah. Craig, how are you? Fantastic. Yeah, that was funny because I'd been doing it on the Howard Stern show for years. And then I started doing the Late Late Show. And one of the first things people may not know that I did on the Late Late Show was not Geoff Peterson. That came years later, but it was about 2007. I started doing Arnold Schwarzenegger in sketches on camera. And so, yeah, they'd have this kind of makeup they'd put on me and a muscle suit.
Yeah.
And, it looked like a horror show, frightening. But, it worked. And I also think the thing with deep fake is I have a buddy of mine, Jeff Richards, who's a genius impressionist. I mean, he's a legend. I mean, I look up to his work. He's really something. And working with him, probably one of my favorite things to do in the world. He has a show called the Jeff Richards Show. And the premise of the show is he never makes it on time for his own show. So he always has a celebrity fill in. Well, he plays all the celebrities using deep fake.
Yeah.
And so I've been on the show 3 times now. And the first 2 appearances I came on as George Lucas. Hey, how you doing? This is George Lucas, creator of Star Wars saga. And he was Dustin Hoffman. And those are some of the weirdest, most wonderful improv conversations I've ever had. And the new one coming out, I'm going to be playing Spielberg. And I really enjoyed that one a lot. But I think, and Jeff's kind of experiencing this right now. My point of saying all this is Jeff just went viral with a video where he's Gary Busey.
Oh, boy.
And it's Gary Busey talking about hot dogs or something like that.
Hot dogs.
And it just mustard or anyways, but it just blew up. Like like Jeff is an example of how you can't give up because you just never know like when it's going to happen. Jeff has been doing this podcast, every week, putting out a different episode. Sometimes it looked like nobody was watching. We would do our episodes and it would do okay. And I'd just be like, wow, this guy just keeps going because he just loves what he does. So this thing blew up and now it's like a meme, right? It's all over TikTok and people are stitching it with their own videos, but nobody is saying who it is playing Gary Busey, because why would they? Because at that point, it's just become this thing that people, so now Jeff's put out a video very wisely showing without the deep fake and trying to let everybody know it's me.
Hey, it's me.
And that's one of the things for me where I go back and forth about AI and deep fake, where I still want people to know that there's someone else doing it, because I think that's more of a magic trick. I think that's just my feeling, though.
No, absolutely. It kind of goes along the lines of like the AI art. Like I have some friends that are artists, and then it's like you can just go to a thing and type in, I want Scarlett Johansson in a bikini riding a surfboard to the moon. And it's just like, boom, there you go. Now she might have 10 fingers on each hand, but it's like,
doesn't matter. Yeah. Guys will put up with anything. 10 fingers on each hand. No problem.
But you had mentioned that, and I've listened to some previous podcasts. In fact, I was just listening to the Hugging a Cactus podcast.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you had mentioned that you had gone to therapy and how important therapy has been. And one of the reasons I started this podcast is how today we can be much more open about mental health versus, when I was growing up, it was like, you got to just pack down your feelings and, if you just suck it up and cope with your feelings. But now you can kind of do you feel like that maybe kind of separate that coming, did that help you come to terms with the Geoff Peterson thing and kind of reconcile with that whole thing?
Yeah, I think wow, it's a good question. I had somebody recently, someone I don't know, just a follower, someone that's been following my work. They messaged me or they left a comment and they said, I listened to your interview with Craig Ferguson, the recent one I did.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, man, I didn't know. They said something like, they said, they apologized because I guess back when I was kind of going through a bad time, this guy told me basically to suck it up. Like, assuming that I was a millionaire, assuming that I was living this life with a house in the Hollywood Hills and a yacht or whatever it was he thought, he
throwing beads, going swimming,
Exactly. Yes. He assumed that I was just whining and complaining and I had no right to do that. And so it meant a lot to me. As I said before, it meant a lot to me that somebody like that finally understood where I was coming from. And I think that's what was happening. Was there were a lot of people that were basically saying, shut up, suck it up, deal with it, and the way that men, I think with men too, I don't want to generalize, but for me anyway, as a man, that's kind of how I grew up. Men or little boys are talked to a bit differently. It's like, deal with it. Especially if you grow up in the Midwest, it's really kind of like, stop crying, suck it up, get back to work,
dust yourself
you're
off.
Lucky to be able to have food on the table, which, it's all true, but there's a harshness to those things. And then you as an adult talk to yourself that way. And so, that's what I was doing. And I was also self-medicating with, alcohol and women, so that was kind of my vice, to try to disappear and not have to deal with all those things. And, but yeah, therapy was very helpful. I think in the sense that, it's just you taking stock. It's not like somebody just comes up with this solution and cures you on the spot.
Yeah.
It's really you taking stock.
You don't just lay on a couch and somebody just sprinkles magic dust and you get up, I'm cured. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish. They do have that dust. I think it's called cocaine, which you can.
Yeah, you can snort
I've
the
heard.
magic dust.
Yeah, but it's for me it was that, and also writing or journaling or keeping a diary, whatever you want to call it. That was very helpful. There was a book called The Artist's Way, which I highly recommend if anybody out there is a creative person, or really for anybody, but for artists specifically, it's kind of a way out. It's a way to pull yourself out of the doldrums, out of the darkness, and to get back into creating. I think that was part of the reason I was so down right after the show ended. It was, several years after the show, was that I wasn't really making anything. And that's kind of, for creative people, that's like a death sentence. But when you're depressed, you don't want to create. So it's kind of this thing that feeds itself. Right. So, but I think that was very helpful, I think. And also the company that you keep is maybe even more important than therapy. I was associating with people in my life that were keeping me down, and what is hurt people. That's one of the phrases,
misery loves company too.
Yeah, all that kind of, and there was something romantic about that for me, to get in relationships or be with people that were on the same level of misery as I was. And let's bask in our own sadness together. And won't that be so much fun? And then after a while, it's not so much fun.
No.
And, but I think good friends helped me through it. And I also think you know, you just change. You have to go through these things. There's nothing wrong with it. It's important to go through these things. You don't
Yeah.
want to go through them, but there's no other way that we learn. There's no other way that we can change. It's called being a human being. I mean, this is how it works. I just kind of did it publicly, but I will say I'm learning again from people's comments and emails to me that a lot of people, they may not have said anything during those dark times. You got to remember, there's a lot of people that don't comment, like me. I don't really comment. I don't really understand the commenting thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't. And so just because you're not seeing people commenting on your work or sharing your work, or it doesn't mean they're not out there. It just means that's just not what they do. It's not like a negative thing. But I heard from so many people that watched those live broadcasts where I was ranting or drunk or in pain. And just recently, somebody emailed me and said how important those broadcasts were to them, how that got them through a dark time, how seeing that someone like me was going through something that they were going through meant a lot to them. And so I actually think there was maybe more value than even I know to being that honest and that vulnerable.
I absolutely agree. I to be perfectly honest, I actually popped on a couple of those when I was like, hey, and it actually made me kind of also introspective to myself. I'm like, it's not fair for me to pop on and expect like Josh to like dance monkey dance, you know, like, you know, you know what I mean? Like it's not fair, but also showing that, you know, the person behind the thing, and that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people can go through that. And it almost seemed like you needed to kind of separate yourself and kind of, that was like the journey. And some people, I think when they're at their lowest, they think that's they're going to stay there, but sometimes it's the process.
Yeah. And you know, but I do think that, I mean, hindsight here, but I think that I personally, I would have handled it a little bit differently. I was definitely very harsh with people. So anybody out there listening, if you are one of those people that got caught in the crossfire, I apologize. But yeah, it wasn't, yeah, I was, you know, there were people that, you know, I think there were people that saw somebody in pain and used that as an opportunity to poke the bear and kick someone while they were down.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that did that, but I willingly, and this is the important part, I think, I willingly kept going back to that specific live stream platform. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's like going into a bar, like a biker bar or something where you're not welcome. I'm a rival biker gang member, and I go into the rival biker gang's bar every day, and I get my ass kicked, and then I get upset and can't understand why. You know, well, just stop going to that bar. You know, and so in my mind, it was like, no, I have a right to be here and do this thing. Well, okay, but you're gonna have to put the blinders on, you know. And but you know what, those people accounted for so few people, but those were the people I focused on, man. Those were the people that I paid attention to.
It's like the emptiest cans make the most noise, you know. It's like,
oh, that's great.
It's like those are the ones you hear.
So when you're doing stand-up, you know, and you know, the only person you're looking at out there in the audience, and you know, you've heard this, the guy with his arms crossed. That's the guy that you're going to play to, you know, and who knows where that comes from. You know, he didn't get enough approval from daddy, whatever. There's so many places that can come from, but you know, and it was a disservice really to the people who really loved Geoff or admired my work or the work I did with Craig. And, you know, I can see why they felt slighted, because it's like, well, why? But to me, it was more interesting. Well, I don't want to like sit here being showered with compliments. I want to focus on the guy that hates me. That's more entertaining.
Why do you hate me?
Yeah. And it was entertaining. I think there were a lot of times when, you know, I did turn it into something that was funny. And I think there was some good entertainment value, but for the most part, you know, you don't need to focus on those people.
Are you looking to get back out there on stage and do some more stand-up?
I don't know if it would be traditional stand-up
Yeah.
per se, but I am going to start doing more live shows or a series of shows on YouTube or other platforms. That's kind of the reason why I've put together this studio with this camera. This is something I've been working on for a couple of years, kind of fine-tuning everything.
Nice.
And so you're going to see some very interesting and familiar characters that will be back.
Will Gary come back? Is Gary coming back?
Gary will be around. Gary is going to pop up in something very, very special. I don't want to say too much about it, but I will say this, that, we're talking about George Lucas earlier, and, the inspiration for Star Wars partly came from the old serials from the 1940s, like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. And, these serial pictures were, for anyone who doesn't know or unfamiliar with it, they basically were these little short films or short episodic adventures that would play before the main movie at a theater. So you would go there in the 40s or 50s, pay your, 10 cents, and you'd watch the continuing adventures of Flash Gordon. So when you watch Flash Gordon, the first thing you'll see at the beginning of each episode is an opening title crawl that looks exactly like the opening title crawl of Star Wars, because that's where it came from. So it'd say like episode 3, invasion of the Moon Men, Flash Gordon is in trouble. And so I wanted to make my own serial. And so that's something I'm working on right now. And Gary is involved in some way.
Oh, that's fabulous.
But as himself. So the idea is that Gary is playing himself as if he is an actor, a well-respected actor from the 40s. Gary the Ogre as blank. So in the opening titles, you'll see a little oval, and each character will turn.
Oh, they'll do the camera. Turn. Yeah, like
Gary the Ogre. Awesome. Yeah. But Gary is but the character he plays is very interesting. And so it's something I'm putting together now. I did a podcast years ago with a good friend of mine, John Mariano. I don't know if you're familiar with John Mariano, but John famously was the voice of Bobby Pigeon on Animaniacs. The Good Feather. Yeah, I mean he's a legend. But Johnny's done a whole bunch of stuff, and he's a great actor. He's a really accomplished actor and a great improviser. We did a show called the Poking Around Podcast years ago. And it was the kind of send up of old radio stuff. So, so something with that, and definitely something with George Lucas.
Very cool.
Something I've wanted to do for a while.
What about Surge?
Yeah, Surge kind of. It's funny because Gary the Ogre happened before Surge.
I was gonna,
And so Surge is actually just me doing Gary the Ogre. I couldn't call him Gary the Ogre on the Late Late Show because nobody would know what the hell I was talking about. So, but then I found out, and this is absolutely true. Then I found out that Bronson Pinchot in Beverly Hills Cop.
That's right.
Did a character named Surge who kind of sounds the same, but ironically, had no connection to that. I was never thinking about that.
Maybe it was so.
I was just thinking about Gary the Ogre. Hey guys, it's like this. I was at a Party City. This is back in, I don't know, 2012. With my then girlfriend, I was at Party City looking at Halloween stuff, and there was the weirdest headpiece mask thing with these horns, but they were like penis. They looked like penis horns. They were veiny and flesh colored. I was like, what is this? And so I put it on. I have the video somewhere, the original video from that moment where I put it on, and I love the way the hair moved. And I said, hey, I'm Gary the Ogre. And we just started laughing. And that became this character. That Halloween, I dressed up as Gary the Ogre. And so that's where, so Surge basically is Gary the Ogre.
Got it. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's a tremendous character though too, because it's like you look at him, he's this he looks like Tim Curry, the devil in Legend, or he's this horned ogre,
Yeah.
but then it's like, hello.
Well, that's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah. He's very menacing and scary looking, but he also looks like Worf from Star Trek
Yeah.
Next Generation.
A little bit.
Because Star Trek would just do like, I think Star Trek, they just had like a room full of like, forehead appliances, and they'd be like, all right, and they'd slap it on and go to
Yeah.
set. But Gary's just so much fun, guys. We're having a great time. But somehow Craig said that he ran a cheesesteak place in Philly. I think that was Surge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the best cheesesteak. And, again, the thing about that show is Craig was out there on camera sitting at the desk. I was behind the wall. So I could see Craig technically through a little monitor that I had. Or if I kind of like peered out from behind the wall, but he could never see me. So he really didn't know what my facial expressions were or what was going to happen. We couldn't communicate with each other. So
you guys played off each other so well, though. Like, it was lightning in a
Yeah.
bottle, the two of you. And
it's true.
yeah, it's just the way that you guys just the report, like the snappy comeback. Of course, the classic is when you guys were both in tears with the whole, I have a place there. We go throw beads, go swimming.
Well, I think that was that was the moment. I think that was the moment that I think that solidified my place.
And wasn't it
character.
interesting that is this true that you were only doing spot gigs on the show for impressions, and then like you had no idea this was coming, that Geoff was going to be a thing, and then boom.
Oh yeah. No, I started in 2007. We talked a little bit about it, where I came on the show and started doing Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, he was governor of California, so it was like, let's check in and see. Let's see what the governor's doing. How you doing there, governor? Oh, it's great, man. It's great. And then I played De Niro a few times, and I would do the voice of Morgan Freeman. And see, you got to remember, that was 2007. I would come in every couple of months. Sometimes like 4 months would go by and they'd call me in to do a sketch. But Craig enjoyed working with me. I think we did the Larry King sketch where I was Arnold and he's sitting across from me, doing his Larry impression. Which, by the way, even he's like, it's like a crazy, I don't even know what it is. Like Larry as a creature or something. But, and he loved Larry. He had a great deal of respect for Larry. But, I was so nervous when I did those sketches because I had come from public access TV. I had come from local television, and I had learned kind of everything there about production and improv. And here I am doing this sketch across from Craig Ferguson and thinking like I don't belong there. Imposter syndrome. How did I get here? They're going to figure me out soon. And I just started making them laugh. And then we did another sketch where he was Pacino and I was De Niro. And we were sitting in a diner. It was a scene from
like Heat.
It was their later film they did together that nobody watched. And very funny. And I kept making them laugh. And I think over, it took several years to build that rapport. And then Geoff came around in 2010, but it was pre-recorded. I was coming in, and so there was another year of that, of just pre-recording phrases. And then I started to actually puppeteer. That's the other thing is, I was back there controlling all of Geoff's movements and doing the voice and doing the joke. So it wasn't just like holding a microphone, and it wasn't a sound. It wasn't a voice activated mouth. There was a switch that you had to touch every time to make the mouth move while you were talking. So, there's a lot going on back there. And the fact that it worked at all is amazing. But we just got into a groove, man. I mean,
it was punk rock, dude. Like it was, because all of the other late night shows were these cookie cutter, like almost pandering to a bunch of people. And then it was like the late show was like, took late night and put it on its head. It was like, it was tremendous. And I remember watching. I teared up a little bit the last episode, but I love that he got you on there out there too. And one of
Yeah,
the
that
last
was a
thing that
big one. The second to last show. That was yeah, the response from the audience was wild. I think that was one of the most mind-blowing moments for me. Just, I got a standing ovation, when
yeah
he introduced me, and I was like, really? And I think that's why. I think in that moment I thought, oh wow, now they're gonna know. The world is gonna
yep.
know. And that,
Now the
they
homeless
do now.
people the homeless people in the audience are gonna know. Are
Yeah, they
gonna know.
called it, they all the, because the people, I mean, you had to wait in line outside of CBS for, I don't know if you ever went to a taping. Did you ever
Mhm.
go to the taping of the
I've
show?
never gone to a taping, but it was like Price is Right or
Yeah,
Craig
man.
Ferguson.
You had to wait out there, and in the summer it was just
Oh.
brutal. That's why he'd say all the homeless people, all the hobos out there,
Yeah.
because basically, you could be out there for 3 hours and it's a free show, but by the time you got in there, everybody was tired. And so a lot of times, one of the producers of the show, Michael Natus, he would walk past me, and just like seconds before the show was about to start, and he'd say, Josh, the audience is very tired and very angry, so they're all going to be counting on you. Have a good show. And then he just walk away, and you go, all
Good
right.
luck.
And you'd hear Shadow Stevens, the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. And
That's tremendous.
there's another guy. There's another wonderful human being,
Mhm.
Shadow Stevens. Great guy to talk to about all these things. But he's
Talk about a voice, and like the only reason I know what he looks like is he was on Hollywood Squares for so
yeah,
long. But
he
that's
was
another
the
one of those
center
things.
square.
Yeah. I'm Shadow Stevens.
Shadow Stevens, the center square. And he's done it all. Shadow, we had lunch not that long ago, and just talking about life. And this is a guy that's done it all, man.
Mhm.
He's been there and back again countless times. And it is nice to hear stories like that from people you admire, just the same way that people have heard my stories and they've reached out, and you don't even
Mhm.
realize what value you're bringing to people. You're
Yeah.
just being you. And Shadow was telling me he did a series of really popular commercials back in the 80s for this company called Federated, and he played Fred Rated. They were these hilarious commercials, and he was known as that guy. And then he did American Top 40, radio,
Yep.
and then he was the center square, and then he did a movie. He was the star of a movie in the 80s.
Yeah, it was
That
Tracks or something like that.
tracks.
Yeah.
That's I've got it on VHS. I had him autograph it for me, and he's like, "Why do you even have this? Oh my God, they should all be burned." And I'm like, "No, man, this is a crazy movie. You're a hitman that bakes cookies. What the hell is this?" But my point of that is, like,
Mhm.
he's done it all. He's had big highs and extreme lows, and he's just still there making stuff and being who he is. And that's the important thing, man.
Ha
That's all,
has has your definition of success changed?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's not, and by the way, because there's cynical people that'll go, well, yeah, because you didn't make it big. So now you got to be like, well, you see, no, this is, let me tell you what it is. It's just being happy
Mhm.
with yourself, with, just enjoying the creative process.
Yeah.
Be here now, that kind of idea of, it's like, because I had this idea that I was going to sell my show and we were going to have 5 seasons of the Josh Robert Thompson show. And like I said before, I was convinced that if that didn't happen, then that meant,
Wow.
I don't know, that I was a loser or something. No, man.
That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself.
It is. And we all do this,
Mhm.
creative people, everybody, but it's really about, I always say, just create to create. I think along the way, I certainly forgot about that, because social media and the way that everything kind of changed, it made it seem like the illusion is you've got to have the views and the likes and you've got to go viral or you're not worth anything. I mean, look, whenever I post non-Geoff Peterson content, I know that it's not going to have as many clicks or views. Do I wish that it would? Sure. But the people that do like that stuff, those are the people I'm playing to, right? Like the people that love Apostle BG and they like love that character. I love that character. They ask me all the time, like, where is he? When is he coming back? Please, the world needs Apostle BG. If it's only 5 people or 1 person, that's good enough for me. You know, I think I think a wise Jedi master, Qui-Gon Jinn, once said, let me do my, hi there. Hi. He said, your focus determines your reality. You know, your focus determines your reality is such a beautiful phrase. And it's true. It's like whatever you're focusing on, man, that's what you're going to get. That's what's going to happen. That's the outcome. You know, Trent Reznor, one of my favorite musicians of all time. And we were just talking about this. We were talking about artists who, you know, go through very painful, dark periods in their life. You know, Trent Reznor was, you know, a drug addict. He was out of his mind. Now, he made one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails albums of all time, which is The Fragile, which is a double album. When he was making that album, he was out of his mind on drugs. However, when he came back and got sober and did an album around 2005, everybody said, oh, well, yeah, it's not the same, you know, sober Trent. Yeah. Well, look what happened with Trent Reznor. Trent Reznor is now an Academy Award-winning film composer who predominantly does scores for movies and is very happy doing that. And you talk about someone who said, okay, I've enjoyed doing that, but this is something that I really want to do, and I'm really enjoying this right now. And that is the key. The key is to lean into what you love. Now, I say this with all respect to everybody that loved the Late Late Show and Geoff Peterson. I don't necessarily want to do that anymore unless they pay me a lot of money.
They back up the Brinks truck, maybe, but
thank you. No, but you know, Craig and I have talked about it, and we've tried to, you know, maybe we'll find something, you know, to do together, which we would love to do. May not be with Geoff Peterson, but I say this because it's not disparaging toward that. All the love that I feel for that character in that show is very, very important to me, and it means the world to me. At the same time, I'm very happy writing. I'm writing a book. I've been writing for a little while now.
Cool.
And you know, it's a fiction, and it's something I love it so deeply. It's like one of my most favorite things in the world. And working on making my first film.
Is it a horror film?
It's a horror film. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And but it ties into the book, and I wanted to write it as a book first, and it's kind of evolved, like all things, into something else. And I just really enjoy that. And if I could make a living writing books, I would be it would be the coolest, you know, next chapter for me. You know, they go, well, that's the guy that did Geoff Peterson. Well, he's a writer. Yeah. Because I feel like I always have been. I feel like I fell into this other stuff, but I love it. I love the stuff I do. I look at it as a way, and a very fun way, by the way, to afford the time to work on these other things. So in the meantime, you know, we're going to put merch out there, and we're going to have more autograph signings. I've got one coming up in October.
Very cool.
So
I'll
Geoff
put the
Peterson
dates in the post-production.
Yeah, I don't, you know, it's sometime in October, and then we're planning, hopefully, a double signing in November, sometime around Thanksgiving, with Dana DiLorenzo, who was on the Late Late Show.
Yes, she was was she the Rhino?
She was the original voice of Sandra the Rhino.
Yes.
And then she was Beth, the sexy CBS executive. Yes. I think a character that we could never do now. Although I wish we could because it was so fun.
Yeah.
She's brilliant. She went on to do Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yep.
What was that other show? Perpetual Grace Limited, and she's does a lot of voice work. She's so funny and so gifted. So I think we're going to do a signing together.
That'd be cool.
And we'll see what happens. So I'm saying this because, guys, I'm still here. I still love Geoff. Balls in your pants. But I think most people understand. I think it's nice. You know, doing Craig's show and doing a show like this. I think it just took a little time. Like all good things, I think people are finally really listening to the story that I'm telling.
Yeah.
And I think they're finally getting a different perspective. And I'm finally listening. I'm hearing what people are saying and realizing the value of what these things mean to people. So
that's so
it
cool,
means the
man.
world to me.
That's so cool, man. I really appreciate you popping on and joining me for mental health, because I think a lot of people need to hear that. There's a lot of creative folks out there that, you know, they and I don't know if it's society expecting instant success. I remember, as I'm a school teacher also, and I had to tell one of the kids that he said, "Why should I study? I'm just going to blow up. I'm going to blow up on YouTube anyways." And I explained to him, I'm like, "Well, let's walk through that. Let's do some math. I mean, the chances, the percentages of having to get successful." But of course, he went on to make a video that got viral. So I looked foolish.
Things are done differently these days. But well, I think but what you're saying makes sense. It is a good point. I think it's and none of it's guaranteed. That's why you have to really just enjoy what you're doing. You have to really make sure you enjoy what you're doing, because it's not about any of that stuff. I mean, even going viral, it's like, I'm going to go viral. And you go, yeah, but do you enjoy it? Like, because you don't see me chasing down TikTok and figuring out what's the topical story of the day and then doing impressions. To me, that's not interesting to me, but there are a lot of people that are very good at that and they do that really well. But
it's not genuine though. Like, I almost feel like, kind of like, if you do what you love and you be yourself, like you're doing what you love to do, then the fans you attract, you have longevity there, right?
Absolutely.
Like, those are real fans. If you're just trying to pander, which I think happens a lot, is you get that viral moment and you're like, oh, I got to repeat this. I got to do another thing just like that. And then you're actually doing a disservice, almost like going viral almost is a curse.
In some ways, I agree, because it's true. Because when I did set up my TikTok, the first thing that went somewhat viral for me was an old clip of my Cooking with Robert De Niro sketch. Well, all of a sudden, and this is like years ago, I did that sketch. I decided to recut it and put it on TikTok. It went viral. And then all anybody wants from me is, where's the next Cooking with Bobby? And I'm like, oh no, man, I did that years ago. I don't want to do that anymore. It's a one-note joke. What else am I going to do? More Cooking with Bobby, And so no matter what you post, they go, no, Cooking with Bobby. But look, I have a Instagram.
It's like your Freebird.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's right. Play it again. And you go, I get it. It's just like I have an Instagram account that's just for my photography and art and music. It's not public. I mean, people could find it if they tried, and I don't have a problem with that. But it's so much fun to go to that Instagram account and just post things just because. There's no agenda. I'm not doing any marketing. I'm not trying to sell anything. It's so fulfilling to me. I mean, I'm working on a new album, making my own kind of music. Maybe someone will hear it. Maybe no one will hear it. Maybe two people will hear it. But I really enjoy it. It's like really fun. And it's so important that you have something just for yourself.
Yes.
That's the other thing.
Yes.
You got to have it, man.
It's like Steve Martin's banjo album. It's like, like when he released a banjo album, everybody's like, what? Steve Martin? He's the funny guy. It was like, well, but he's also this guy.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And like you said, if it's genuine, people will connect to it. Or the people that like it will. Doesn't mean everybody has to like it. I mean, listen, a lot of people can't stand Apostle BG, and I get it, but I'll never not love that guy. He's
Well,
just so ridiculous to me.
it's so funny because, like, my mom would be so offended if she watched anything that Apostle BG, but like,
mhm.
I've actually, she's very conservative, very, very religious, and I've known several, like, if you took an amalgam of televangelist and local evangelist all into one
Yeah,
caricature, that Apostle BG is that guy.
of
And
course.
I'm like, oh, I know that. Oh, it's great. And it's I'm hoping he gets out of jail. I hope
Yeah,
he
he'll be back.
fixes habits. I hope he's cleaned himself up
Yeah, he'll be
and
back.
repented.
He's rebranding. He's not so much a preacher anymore as he's kind of an L. Ron Hubbard
Oh,
type character, which I think is even
great.
Better.
Yes.
He calls himself a philosopher, prophet, and world explorer. That's
Oh.
that used to be the original title for Apostle BG. And so, I'm going to be back, man. I'm going to have my cigarette, man. We're going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about the history of United States of America and how that got, that they took all the snakes. They were united, the snakes, they tied them all together. And Amerigo Vespucci Spoogie, whatever his name was, Italian guy, used the snakes as a raft. And that's how he discovered United States of America. So these are things you'll learn on my show.
And that's where the "Don't Tread on Me" flag came from.
Of course, that's exactly where that came. Yes, so you understand. You're already ahead of the game here.
I'm a
Now,
level 25.
Exactly, man. And by the way, I think my favorite thing that Apostle ever did was start selling fake products. Like he had one that was it was Body of Christ protein powder, and it was Jesus. I had just crudely drawn Jesus on the side of this bottle.
Yeah.
And it was like, get the same lean muscle mass that Christ himself had that kept him on that cross day after day. Body of Christ protein powder. One of my favorite things in the world. I really love doing those shows. Yeah. So I'll be back. Sometimes, and by the way, sometimes you got to take a break. It's okay to step away for a while, You don't have to be in a hurry, man. That's the one thing that I've learned. That's a very important one for me. You don't have to be in such a hurry. It's all going to be there when you get back. Sometimes you got to take a break. I went away for a couple years from doing live shows, and best thing I ever did in my life. But I was reading, I was learning about editing, I was learning about, music software. I was learning how to light and set up my own studio. So to other people, it may be, where's Josh? Is he gone? Is he dead? People always ask, I thought you were dead or you quit the business. No, man, Google it. Check it.
Google it. Yeah.
But it's okay. If people know, if they don't know, it does. Like I said, as long as the check clears, folks, that's the most important thing.
As long as the check clears, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Josh, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you. I'd love to have you come back on again, and I'm excited for your future. I'm excited. Everybody go check out the Josh Robert Thompson special presentation. Yeah. It's not a pilot, it's a special. It's awesome. And I'm looking forward to all the cool stuff coming your way. I'm looking forward to your horror movie coming.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I think that's going to be tremendous.
Oh, and we'll have it set up soon, but I'll have a newsletter very soon, which will be great. So I can reach everybody. So my website is jrtshow.com. It's official. I finally got the domain JRT Show. So no more the JRT Show. It's just JRT Show.
JRT Show.
I've won. Simple. So if you want to keep up on what I'm doing, go to jrtshow.com. The store will launch this week. So
cool.
So the store you can find at jrtshow.com. And people have been asking. I've heard your requests, and it's all happening. Baseball caps.
Cool.
That was the big one. Everybody wants Geoff Peterson baseball caps. It's all happening, man. Careful Icarus. You want Careful Icarus merch? I got Careful Icarus merch. All right. So
nice. Will there be any Apostle BG wafers or anything like that?
Yes. I'm glad you asked, my friend. we are going to have around the holidays, we are going to have a lot of original character stuff, including the Reverend Apostle BG. So
Apostle BG needs to have an advent calendar, but
that's a great idea. Yeah, I actually would love to do that. God only knows what will be behind each door.
What? Yeah.
But I think also the new King James, I would love to write the new King James Bible.
Yes.
At least a pamphlet, man. We could probably write a pamphlet, Jerry. Jerry, can we write a pamphlet? Stupid guy. Jerry, you're still.
Jerry.
Man. Jerry, by the way, was the, I'll go here in a second, folks. I'm going to leave. But Jerry, Apostle used to yell off camera at this guy, Jerry, who was like his camera guy producer. Jerry used to be a friend of mine, Raymond Chavez. I did a lot of public access TV with Raymond Chavez. Well, when he passed away, it was very sad to look off camera and not have anybody there. So I just came up with this fake. Jerry is me, just getting mad at myself if I screw up something during the show. But Jerry is also, I come from a long line of Jerrys in my family. My grandfather's name was Jerry. My uncle's name was Jerry. I got another uncle named Jerry's a very funny name.
Yeah, it's a great name to great scapegoat name.
Yeah, damn Jerry. It, Jerry.
It's freaking
All
Jerry.
Right, well, anyway, there you go, folks. The history of Jerry.
The history of Jerry coming soon to a theater near you. Well, Josh, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I'd love to have you come back. I'm excited about the merch store coming out. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting my Apostle BG Advent calendar.
Hell yeah, man! Yeah, you'll get a little taste of that since you came up with the idea.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the JRT. Go to JRT Show, not the JRT Show. JRTshow.com. And for JRT himself, I am AA Ron. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Catch new episodes of Mental Health Mondays every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Start your week off with a smile and some inspiration.